folks. Welcome back to the Cantina Chatter podcast. This is the fourth entry into the Hasbro Modern Toy Line Retrospective, focusing specifically on the 30th anniversary collection. Up until this point, we have done Power of the Force, episode 1, Power of the Jedi, Saga, Clone Wars microseries, original trilogy collection. We have done Revenge of the Sith, the Saga collection, and here we are at the 30th anniversary collection, finally finishing it off in this last entry, focusing specifically on that line. And it's been a long time coming, Dan Curto, but we're finally almost there.
Yes, years in the making, really.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a long time coming. And this series, I think we kicked it off back in 2018 when I first started doing this retrospective on the modern Star Wars toy line. So it's been a slow drip for sure, but there's just so many toys that have been released over the decades.
Absolutely. And that just goes to show you how popular the Star Wars brand has been and the longevity that it's had. I mean, obviously we're in the 40 plus years already, but this particular toy line, I mean, it was Hasbro really pulled out all the stops because it's, they introduced so many new concepts and so many fun things, and I don't think you'd see this kind of stuff nowadays.
No, definitely not. And in our previous episodes for the 30th anniversary collection, we talked about basic figures. We talked about the vintage 30th anniversary collection. We talked about comic packs. And Ultimate Galactic Hunt, and vehicles. But now we need to get through Order 66, battle packs, multi-packs, and one odd and end that's in here. So I think we should start off with that. So there's one miscellaneous item on here. And this was a pretty unique release. It was the action figure base pack, and these are the same bases that the Saga collection figures had, but this time Hasbro released a pack of them for $9.99, and it came with labels so that you could put different character names on the different bases. The bases themselves, of course, had the different Star Wars films printed on them. So this was a really unique release, wasn't it?
Yeah, all 6 films plus the expanded universe. So you're representing pretty much, at the time, this was the entirety of Star Wars. Obviously, we've come a long way since then, and a lot more films and TV shows and stuff. But for $10, you get a bunch of 40 base packs, or stands rather.
Yeah.
Single pegged. I think later on they had some double pegs, if I remember correctly. But this was great. I mean, in the second wave, if I get this right, the second year of the 30th anniversary collection, they swapped out the coins for these bases, for these stands. So now here's a way to get more to display your figures so they don't fall over and create some chaos.
Yeah, and that can be a problem sometimes.
Yes. It's been there, right?
Oh, yeah, the domino effect for sure. All right, so let's talk about Order 66. So this was a really cool segment. At the time, Hasbro through Target was doing these cylindrical packaging 2-packs. And they were called the Order 66 sets because they contained a main character such as a Jedi or a Sith, and then a clone trooper to accompany them. So let me just name the ones that were released. There were 2 waves. In the first wave, it was Emperor Palpatine and Commander Thayer. Mm-hmm. We had Mace Windu with Galactic Marine. There was Darth Vader with Commander Bo. There was Obi-Wan Kenobi with AT-RT Driver. Anakin Skywalker with Airborne Trooper. And Master Yoda with Kashyyyk Trooper. Now, I do got to mention that the paint coloration of the accompanying clones matched the Jedi or Sith figure that were in here. For example, Palpatine came with Commander Thayer is the Shock Trooper, the red and the white. Mace Windu has the purple colored trooper. Vader and the Anakin figures have 501st colored troopers. There is a Utapau coloration on Obi-Wan's trooper, and then Yoda's has a really unique camouflage paint scheme on his trooper.
Yes, and what was fun about this too is a lot of these were kind of just off screen, if you will, iterations of the clones. But some of them were based on their appearances in the comic books too, which was kind of cool. So really, Hasbro was bringing in, all different sources for this particular line. The figures themselves, I mean, there was very few in this particular wave brand new sculpts. So it was a lot of it was redeco, some soft goods added, and Mace Windu. They really took that purple motif really far. He had shock troopers, not stormtroopers. He had shock troopers, galactic marines, a spaceship, a droid. He really went all out.
Yeah, just because he had that purple saber, everything had to be purple with Mace.
Right.
Yeah. And all of these figures, like the main Jedi characters, were essentially repacks. I think Mace Windu, this figure is a little unique because of the soft goods cloak it comes with. It doesn't have a hood. But the others are basically, just refreshes. Sometimes they have new cloaks that, they didn't have before. And then the troopers, they're also reuse, but they're painted in new ways to give you new figures and to help build out the armies that you have. So that was a really cool thing they did.
Mm-hmm.
So for Wave 2, there is, another smattering of figures. So we have Obi-Wan Kenobi and ARC Trooper Commander in the red colored armor. Phase 1. Anakin comes with a Phase 1 ARC Trooper with the blue colorations. We have Sui Choi and Bark Trooper. I hope I said that correctly. We have Emperor Palpatine, and he comes with Commander Vil, this time in a 501st coloration. Luminara Unduli with ATRT Driver, which has a camouflage coloration. And Master Sev and ARC Trooper, which is a yellow-colored ARC Trooper, right. Phase 1.
Now these 3 of the figures were basically the ARC Trooper, just in different colors, with a couple new parts. I think the legs on 2 of the ARC Troopers were different, and they're sort of based on the comics, but sort of, again, more off-screen, if you will. And what I really loved is they did some new sculpts in this particular one with Sui Choi and the Bark Trooper, which later on came out in Saga Legends in, I want to say the Legacy Collection.
Yeah.
So they brought him back. He was pretty popular.
That Sui Choi is a really, really cool one, definitely. Just a really radically different figure than anything we'd gotten in the line. So it was really cool he was introduced in this Order 66 pack. And was he ever re-released? I don't think so, right?
No. This character appeared in the comic books from Dark Horse back when they were publishing the Star Wars books. And he was typically, when they first did it was great because he's based on, I don't remember the alien's name, but he was a pod racer. Ratsrel.
That's it.
So they had an alien from his species, which is really tiny, like Yoda's tiny, and then they partnered him up a lot of times with another alien that was like the really tall one from the Watto's box set, the one that was sitting down. He was so big he couldn't even stand up.
Yeah.
So they had a Jedi of that alien race, and they typically partnered together, which I thought was funny.
Right. The Anakin in Wave 2 is also kind of interesting because it's a reuse of the Anakin from the micro series,
right.
Figure, but this time he has a soft goods shirt and vest. And I actually had a couple of these because I wanted extra clones. And one of the Anakins, I took all the shirt and all that off, and I could never get it back on again. So if you buy this set, keep that in mind. Yeah, and the packaging was cool on these too, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, the tube was an interesting concept that allowed you to kind of view it from different angles and stuff like that. And plus, they had cool artwork on it too, which, I mean, we were talking on in a previous show, the artwork on the 30th anniversary collection, all the card backs, all the packaging was really just phenomenal. I thought they did a fantastic job on this particular line.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, let's talk about battle packs because there's quite a few. And I guess what I'll do is, a lot of these are re-releases in terms of these battle packs themselves are entirely re-released reissues. And some of them are new. So I'll go ahead and list them. The mainline release battle packs, you have Battle Geonosis, Battle on Myketo, Betrayal at Bespin, Capture the Tana V4, Clone Attack on Coruscant, Droid Factory Capture, Jedi Training on Dagobah, Jedi versus Darth Sidious, Jedi versus Sith, and The Hunt for Grievous. So most of these are reissues, right? So these had been released in previous years.
Yeah. So again, Hasbro pulling out all the stops. Some new collectors maybe getting into it back then, and they wanted to maybe pick up some figures they hadn't gotten before. This is a great way of releasing them. I personally love the battle pack concept. How they had what was 5 figures initially, and then it went down to 4, and then down to 3 over time. But they had them all come out based on that particular scene, and they would sometimes build like little like displays out of cardboard in the packaging to sort of really make it look like you're recreating the scene from either the film or the TV show or whatever it was, which was pretty fun. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely pretty neat. And like you said, I mean, it's nice that New York collectors had access to these, because that seems like it was the real purpose behind these, was to get, offer like a smattering of main cast characters, in these packs. Battle of Megiddo was kind of a cool one, huh? Because it had some pretty unique stuff in it.
Yes, a lot of these either repacks of figures you didn't have or repaints just to make them new enough. And in this particular one, for sure, the Octoptara droid, I think that's what they called it.
Yeah, or Tri-Droid, something.
That's no, the Octoptara droid was the big vehicle one.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another story for another show. And the Super Battle Droid had a unique deco to it as well. It was kind of cool. Oh, and Commander Bakara was the first time that they had done a figure of him that didn't have the action feature in it.
Right. That's true, because the Revenge of the Sith one had the squeeze the legs quick draw thing.
Yeah. So this was more of a fully posable version of that particular clone.
Right. And even like the other figure, I mean, this is a set worth getting, because even like the Super Battle Droid's like black and silver, and the Galactic Marine has like lighter gray pants, and Ki-Adi-Mundi has like a pretty cool soft goods shirt that he's wearing.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at something like I was saying with the cardboard displays at the Betrayal at Bespin, I mean, you've got Han, Leia, Darth Vader, and Boba Fett in the set, and Chewbacca, of course. How did I forget him? But the packaging also had a cardboard table from Cloud City, which most people probably just threw that away. But that's what really made the scene, It's like It's kind of a recreation of the scene from the film, which was kind of neat.
Yeah, for sure. And that was always one of the really cool things about these battle packs was that they did that. All right, let's see here. So we'll go into the Target exclusive battle packs. I'll read them off. Ambush on Elam, ARC 170 Elite Squad, ATRT Assault Squad, Attack on Kashyyyk, Battle Rancor with Felucian Rider and Saddle, Betrayal on Felucia, and then 2 ultimate battle packs, really big battle packs, the Battle of Endor and the Battle of Hoth. So let's talk about Ambush on Elam, because this was a really unique set.
Yeah, I love this set because it's based on the Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, which I really liked. And if people don't know, I assume people do, but if people don't know, this was a small 3-minute little video that you could watch on QuickTime. Remember that? And I actually would watch I downloaded it, I watched the show, and then later on they had director's commentaries that you could also watch and kind of get like behind the scenes stories about it as well. But this is the set that not only introduced the chameleon, or recreated, I guess, the chameleon droids, but there were 2 different versions of them. One was sort of phasing out of focus, I suppose. But the Snow Bunny Padme, as she became known, was unique to this set, pre-posed, really great figure, and never released again.
Yeah, she's really cool, and the quality of her soft goods is really stands out, because the figure is kind of pre-posed. She's like, she's bracing her wrists as she holds her pistol with with the 2 hands. Mm-hmm. And not the fanciest figure, but definitely one that is unique and to this set, like those droids. And then you have R2 and you have 3PO, which, nothing really new there. Arc 170 Elite Squad. This is the same time they had that we talked about in the last episode, the Arc 170 fighter that was painted in, that really famous, blue and white with the creature's head on the front of it. So they had this Arc 170 Elite Squad battle pack to tie into that. So you got a couple pilots that have royal blue coloring on them. You have 2 regular troopers, and then you have a red and blue astromech. This one didn't have a name on the set anyway, but this was a really great set, and if you bought the Arc 170, you really needed to have this set to go with it.
They did finally name him afterwards. I can't remember who exactly, but somebody official, maybe like StarWars.com back then, named him R4C7, which was kind of fun. But yeah, if you're buying this Arc fighter, this is the unique. What was it? It's not really Tiger Stripe. I can't remember. Like it was Space Whale or something like that.
Yeah.
From the one that appeared in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars series. They kind of took that same deco and then applied it to the Arc 170, and this is the crew that you need to fill that out. So that was fun.
Exactly. Yeah, or if you're a weird person like me, you bought 2 of these sets because you wanted to have 3 clone pilots in there instead of 1 regular trooper.
Yes.
But yeah, it was definitely a fun set. Let's see what else. ATRT Assault Squad. This was like kind of a unique, kind of a larger set. It was only $29.99, but you got 2 ATRTs, each of which had an ATRT driver with camouflage coloring. Mm-hmm. And then you had a clone commander, which is basically like the Commander Bakara that we were talking about, the quick draw release, but now with camouflage paint on it.
Yeah, and what was also kind of neat is that the ATRTs themselves, they each had a unique deco. So it wasn't like 2 of the exact same painted vehicles, but each one was unique.
Yeah, it's a really cool set, and I have good memories of this one because my mom bought it for me for Christmas that year, and so I, it's that thing, a lot of these toys we have memories tied to them, so right. That makes them even more meaningful and special to us. So I really like this set for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
All right, so Attack on Kashyyyk. So this one was based on The Force Unleashed. You have 2 Wookiee warriors. It's the same as the sneak preview figure from 2005, but this time they're outfitted a little bit differently. You get 2 stormtroopers and you get Darth Vader.
Right, and this is from the beginning of the video game where Vader is basically decimating the Wookiees on Kashyyyk. But that was kind of the fun, because when the Force Unleashed game was delayed, the figures that were planned for the line, they got pushed back to the following year. But they also allowed Hasbro to come up with some new toy tie-ins. So we got this particular battle pack, which was, again, nothing really new. But a couple of repaints, and it's new enough.
Yeah. And
who doesn't need new stormtroopers? And how many Darth Vaders do you can never have too many Darth Vaders.
No.
But yeah, I really love this set. And that particular Wookiee warrior, I thought that was at the time, they've done better articulation since then, but I love that figure.
Yeah, it is a fun one, definitely. Let's see here. We have this is another cool one. This is one of those really big sets, and we have the Battle Rancor, which is has the Felucian rider and saddle.
I actually prefer this Rancor more than the real Rancor that they it was the same sculpt, the same toy. They just made it in Return of the Jedi deco, but I thought this was phenomenal. The Felucian Rider's kind of a weird alien, but that's always cool in Star Wars. But this was really neat and something unique, because we had gotten people riding Rancors in the Expanded Universe novels, but we never actually saw it until this game came out. That was cool. We've now, of course, seen it in the Book of Boba Fett. But,
right.
But this was pretty cool for the time, I think.
Yeah, it was. And definitely a unique color scheme on the Rancor, and the Felucian Riders are really unique design too. So I mean, 39.99. It's like it's just insane what stuff cost back then.
Right. This would probably be like $100 now.
What else do we have here? So let's see. Betrayal and Felucia. Yeah, this was another cool set. Ayla's battalion of 327 Star Corps troopers. They had never really been widely released at this point. Like there was Commander Blind, the Revenge of the Sith line. And then in the Evolution set, they had one of these like just grunt troopers by itself, but there wasn't really an easy way to army build them. And finally, the set comes out, and it's a nice way to be able to get several of them at once.
And I think it's one of the more elaborate clones in the film.
Yeah, they were, and even the pauldrons on some of them are like different shades of like yellow, orange. Let's see here. So we're going to move down to the ultimate battle packs that we referenced. So these were like the really big like packs that this is kind of a new thing that at the time Hasbro was doing was at the holidays they were making these really big battle packs. And there's an Endor themed one and there's a Hoth themed one, and they're both really big. You got a lot of stuff with them. So let's talk about the Battle of Hoth first. The Battle of Hoth gives you an ATST. It gives you an ATST driver, Han Solo, a laser turret, Luke Skywalker, Rebel officer, Rebel trooper, and 3 snowtroopers. So you definitely get a lot, and it costs $49.
Right. I mean, can you imagine what this set would cost nowadays?
$150.
Yeah, at least.
Maybe more.
And this so a lot of repaints in here. The Han Solo in his Hoth outfit was released before, but this is a very bright blue. So it's a sort of an homage to the Kenner figure from back in the 80s. And the Luke Skywalker figure is like, wow, that's a really strange choice. And the deco on some of them is questionable. But what was cool about this is this was the first time we had the turret.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hollow, but it's still pretty big, and it launches a missile, which was fun.
It's really nice. Great value for sure. And they aptly released them, around the holiday season. So people were definitely swooping in and taking advantage of this. But yeah, such a great set. And, the likes of which you'll never see anything like this again. There's no way.
Sadly, I have to agree.
With the Battle of Endor, you get an ATST driver, biker scout with speeder. You get Chewbacca, you get Han Solo, 2 logs. Yep, 2 logs.
2 logs.
You get,
I love this one because of the logs.
You get Uchi, not to be confused with Ochi from The Rise of Skywalker, which wasn't a thing yet. You get the 2 speeder bikes I mentioned, the Stormtrooper, and then you get Wicket W. Eric.
So this is actually not. It is a repaint of Wicket, but it's not Wicket. It's his brother Whittle. And I made a point of that when I was looking at it. I was like, it's like the deco is a different character altogether, but the packaging calls him out as Wicket.
Yeah.
That's odd. But I do love this. I mean, again, this is a kit bash set for the most part that has repaints and parts that you wouldn't expect to see, like that. Uchi is like Logray from Power of the Force 2. We're going all the way back to Power of the Force 2. And slap it on a hood, and there you go. We got a new Wicket. I mean, customizers, I was very big in that for a while. We would do stuff like this all the time. So Hasbro doing stuff like this is like, that's kind of fun.
It is fun. And then I think the best thing about this set is the 2 logs, to be honest. I mean,
Me too.
It's so wacky, but it's the only way you can get 2 logs in the entire modern Star Wars toy line, honestly.
Right? That's awesome.
Yeah, I hope I'm not the only person that bought it for the logs. Let's see what else we got. So, okay, Toys R Us exclusives. So there was the Hoth Patrol, there was the Stab Attack, and there is the Bantha with Tusken Raiders. So Stab Attack was basically 2 of the old Staps from Phantom Menace, but they were repainted. In a previous episode where we talked about vehicles, we mentioned that they had the the AAT, and it was repainted in this darker color palette, like this darker brown and bronze color palette.
Hmm.
And these staps are meant to go with that set. So it's really cool that, again, they were kind of coordinating with other releases from the time.
Yeah, yeah, and you know the battle droids were at the time episode one came out. They had three different colors: red, blue, and yellow, and they called them different things. There was a security droid for red, blue was the pilot, and yellow was the commander. But we never really did much with that in the films. So kind of having these battle droids in blue deco flying a ship, or in this case the STAP, I was like, yeah, because they're
Yeah.
pilots. That's why.
Yeah. No, it is cool. And even the super battle droid in the set is not a unique sculpt, but the coloration is unique on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I gotta love the wash on those two regular battle droids. Like they're just so detailed the way they painted them.
The Tusken Raider set with the Bantha. So the Bantha was way back in the '90s, in Power of the Force 2 again. But it's funny. There's two different versions of this.
Hmm.
There's the regular tan color, like we're used to seeing Sand People, and then there's a very dark brown deco and soft goods version, which was actually the one we were supposed to get. And the story that I got at the time was that when they shipped it overseas to produce it, they had a list of all what they wanted to do. So they wanted to bring out these figures, and they wanted to re-release them, turn the page in brown coloring. And the production company didn't see the second page initially. It's literally as goofy as that, but that's how come we have two different versions of the Tusken Raiders.
So they were supposed to be red first, but then they ended up doing them brown.
Correct.
Interesting.
At the time, I only had the tan ones, but I now since have collected the brown ones.
Nice.
They're just not on this page.
The red ones are definitely unique. Like I have this set, but unfortunately it isn't the red ones. It's just the regular colored ones. And I think if you look on eBay, the red colored ones seem to be the more expensive ones, and they also show up less often.
Right.
But it's definitely a good way, even if you wanted to get both sets to like army build. But yeah, I think if you're buying this set, you're probably mostly buying it for the Bantha. The Bantha has only come out twice in the modern line, back like you said during the Power of the Force, and then during the 30th anniversary line. And this time they redid the fur on it, so it's not the straight hairs it had before. It's like the more curly. I guess I don't know what I'd say is more film accurate. It's just different, right, from the first one.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely somewhat unique, but I don't know. I mean, they've never redone it, so I guess it still holds up.
Yeah, I mean, I still have mine on display. It would be nice if they redid that one finally. I think that's definitely one that deserves to be redone at some point. Let's see, Walmart had the Treachery on Seleucamai battle pack, and this was kind of a cool one too because it's based off the scene in Revenge of the Sith, where you have the two speeder bikes,
Hmm.
and I guess the BARC speeders technically. And then you also have the two drivers, right? So one of them's Commander Neo, and then one of them's just um, I don't even know what battalion this would be called, but it's the same one that you see on Seleucamai.
Right, and this one has a special visor like sculpted onto his helmet, and we've never ever seen that again. Only in this set does this particular clone exist.
Great set. And I guess we'll go to move on from here to the multi-packs. So the main thing to keep in mind about the multi-packs is, this was a time where they were into tin sets. Hasbro was releasing these Star Wars commemorative tin sets, and they did one for every film at the time, so 1 through 6,
Hmm.
and then some exclusive stuff. So we'll touch on these real quick. So there was an episode 1 set that had Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Darth Maul, and it had an astromech droid, R2, R9.
Hmm.
There was the episode 2 set with Anakin, Dooku, Jango Fett, and then a clone lieutenant, episode 2 style. Episode 3, Anakin, it had Yoda, Mace Windu, and then it had a BARC trooper. This was kind of a unique one too because this was like an all white BARC trooper with like tan lower legs. There was an episode 4 set with Leia, Vader, C3PO, and Stormtrooper. There was an episode 5 set, and this one had Hoth Luke, Hoth Han, Chewbacca with snow on his legs, and then a snow trooper. And then there was a Return of the Jedi set, which had Scout Trooper, Darth Vader, Emperor's Wrath, Death Star Gunner, and then it had R5, J2, Astromech Droid. So these were the main the main episode 1 through 6 sets that were done at the time.
Yeah. So the initial release of the 6 films were basically repacked, some unique deco to them, but at least one figure was new in each set.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to like skip these because you've been collecting a long time, you already have them. Nope, you can't skip them because there's something unique in each set. So you had to get all of them, which was super fun as a collector. Whereas later on, when they did the exclusive sets, they were mostly repacks. So you could skip those if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But of course, I did not.
No. How could you?
And the other set that I don't know if you mentioned or not, but the modal node.
Yeah, the modal nodes.
So we've actually seen these guys come back recently, but these are still based on the Power of the Force 2 mold, and there's 5 figures repainted with the different weapons or not weapons, with the different musical instruments. And this is not to be confused with the exclusive Cantina band member that Disney had. So there was a lot of Cantina bands going on at this time.
There were, and this was one I picked up, and up until recently, and they're still on display actually because I haven't had opportunity to switch them out. But up until like this year, like from 2006, 2007 to this point in time, how many years is that? That's like 17, 89, 21, 2, 3, 4, like a good almost 18 years. Like this has been like the only way to get like all the modal nodes, like the definitive versions of them. So I've had them on display that whole time. But now, of course, we have the vintage collection multi-pack that has the whole band. So I definitely need to get it into gear and switch them out finally.
I still have to get that set, and I was debating on whether to get it or not, and some people have already gotten it, and I've seen the pictures. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have to order that one.
Yeah, it was a long time coming, and finally we have some updates to them. And yeah, the plastic on mine have started getting sticky over the years, so it's definitely time to replace them.
Uh-huh.
All right, so there was a couple other special commemorative tin sets, exclusive editions. There was an episode 2, and it has some pretty cool stuff. It has Mace Windu, Sora Bulk, Oppo Rancis, and Sam Wessel. Episode 3 exclusive set with Anakin Skywalker, Commander Cody, General Grievous, and a V-Wing clone pilot that is painted in the black color, the clone pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And then an episode 6 edition with Emperor's Wrath, Darth Vader, Scout Trooper, Death Star Gunner, and then Astromech Droid R5J2. So we'll jump down to the other exclusives, non-tin. There was an I Am Your Father's Day gift pack with Bespin Luke and Bespin Vader.
Yeah, this was a goofy set. I remember at the time thinking, like, what? But, the figure of Luke Skywalker was a kit bash from a couple other Lukes from the past. So I was like, okay, that makes it a new figure. We definitely got to add this to the collection.
It was definitely different. Let's see, there is Republic Forces. So Entertainment Earth really stepped it up around this time frame with some of their exclusives. And, this was one of them, the Republic Elite Forces. So it's got Mandalorians and Clone Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really fun set for sure. Because you get some, like, they're actually name called, right? They're not just random characters. You get, like, Dread Priest. You get Isabet Rowe. You get Mij Gillamar. And then you get 2 ARC Troopers, and these are painted in like more of the shadow, like ARC Trooper sort of colors, like red and black. And then you get 2 Clone Troopers with Mythosaur skulls printed on their front sides, and J guys on their helmets.
Right. Now these sets were Hasbro creations, but also mixed in. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a expert on the Karen Travis novels from the time, but some of the characters in those were brought to life here, but some of them, like Dread Priest, you mentioned, were Hasbro employees. In this particular case, was Daryl the Priest
Yep.
head sculpts with the Mandalorian bodies underneath. So they kind of just played around with it and said, "Hey, we're going to have some fun with this and add to the lore of Star Wars."
Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, it's really fun when they're able to do that. And, it's notable that at this point in time, I don't think we had seen Mandalorian armor that had like the female helmet version, like more of like the Bo-Katan style. So
Right.
the figure that comes in this set just has more of a Boba Fett looking Mandalorian T-visor on her helmet.
Yes. Yes.
There was another Republic Elite Forces. So again, another one of these same kind of sets. It has a couple of Mandalorians in it: Rev, Brawler, Baran, Apna, and then you get Omega Squad. So basically, what that is you get four Republic Commandos that are done in black coloration. So another one of those sets that just it bang for your buck, $66.99. At the time, people said that was expensive, but when you compare it to today, not so much.
Right. Right. I mean, gosh, that's what 7 figures in one set.
Yeah.
66.99.
They also did two Battlefront 2 sets. These were previews exclusives, and these were fun because Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2 was a really big popular game. It was a lot of fun to play.
Absolutely.
And they did a couple of Battlefront 2 packs. One was the droid pack and one was the clone pack. The clone pack, which was especially cool because when you played that game, you could always rotate like your clone troopers on the screen, and you could pick who you wanted to play as. So you get a clone engineer, which is a unique figure to the set. Given the head sculpt is unique to the set, there is a clone sharpshooter, and that's kind of almost like the seventh fleet security sort of. It kind of fits in with those guys if you wanted to. You get a clone trooper, which is really a 501st clone trooper. I think it's the evolution sculpt. You get the galactic marine. And then you get a heavy trooper, which is another unique coloration. It's like gray, right? White and gray. So it's kind of more like if you had those 41st Elite, like before they go to Kashyyyk, their white and gray armor. This one fits in with those figures. And then you get the jet trooper, which is the 501st coloration, green visor, and then the jet pack on his back.
Yeah, I love this set. I thought this was so fun, and I played the game. When this came out, it was sort of like you didn't expect it. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
like, wow, they're actually going this deep. And
Yeah.
these sets were the inspiration for one of the figures that later on I was able to convince them to create the infantry rebel
Ah,
in the 30th anniversary line.
okay. Yeah, and it's a great set. And then similarly, not as great because of the sculpts, maybe, but there was also the droid pack, and it had an assassin battle droid. It had an assault battle droid, an engineer battle droid, a destroyer droid, a Magna Guard droid, and a super battle droid. So, definitely a healthy roster of battle droids, if you're trying to bulk up your separatist armies. But, this is another, and the ammunition droid, if I didn't mention that, which is a gonk droid. But yeah, it's still a cool set, and I just really love how they themed it to match closely with the game, and you could have play your game and go enjoy your figures kind of thing.
Right, right.
Let's see, the Max Rebo band was repainted and repacked. These had been available during the Power of the Force days as cinema scene packs, but now they were making them into two different packs available through Walmart. The first one had let's see here, Rappertoonie, which was released originally during the Saga line. They had Griata, Joe Yauza, Ristal, and Lin Mi. So these were all, figures that came back. The other set, probably the cooler set amongst the two, had Max Rebo, Droopy McCool, Slice Noodles, and Barkin Dan. So it was a quick way to get your band together if you didn't have the band at that point.
You're not going to try the Rhodian's name?
Okay, I was going to leave it for you, but yes, is it Dota Bandenweedo?
Yes. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
this was fun because we hadn't seen these figures, and probably we're most likely not going to see them ever again. But we hadn't seen them in years at this point when these came
true.
out. So
Yeah.
re-releasing them was definitely a way to honor the Jabba's scene.
All right, and that's going to take us to the final segment here. This is Saga Legends. Dan, can you give us a little bit of background on 30th anniversary Saga Legends?
Oh my, yes. So let's all go back to the fall of 2006. We are just wrapping up the Saga collection and gearing up for the 30th anniversary. I'm working for Rebel Scum at the time, and I get a message from their Hasbro's PR department, which was Hunter PR at the time, and they wanted to meet with me. And I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do? Basically, what boiled down to is they wanted to come up with a line that was the fan favorites of at the time, all time modern line. Okay, all of the characters, all of the figures that ever were made from Power of the Force 2 up through Saga Collection, what were the fans' top choices? And they wanted to release them in what initially we called Greatest Hits, later became known as Saga Legends. Now, Hasbro had selected 12, and they wanted 12 more, basically, for what were fans interested in. So the line was split. It was some very specific figures that they had picked, which we'll get into, and then the rest of them were made up of the fans' choices. But the overall winner, whatever the most popular one was designated fan choice number one. And for some reason, I decided there were 8 different lines. I would take the top 8 in each category and put them all together in a March Madness style voting bracket that all of the collecting community could vote on and determine which one it was. And at the end of the day, we had some shenanigans along the way during the voting, but we were able to fix that. At the end of the day, the 1998 Expanded Universe Dark Trooper from Dark Forces video game was selected as the number one choice.
Oh.
Which was a lot of work behind the scenes, but it was a lot of fun putting that all together. And the following year in 2008, they did it again, but a little bit differently, and they did a wave 2, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, that's a really great backstory there on Saga Legends, and it's really cool. It goes to show, we're all fans of this stuff, obviously, but just in being passionate about it and creating content, you can have some pretty cool opportunities to be involved. So that's really awesome.
And if you recall, they had in the Saga collection, they did a subline of repaints, like the greatest battles of episode 3, the heroes and villains of episode 3.
Yeah.
And they were strict repacks of figures that had already been done, but to bring them back, the main characters.
Right.
Which was the idea behind this. But I tell you, once we started getting into what the fans wanted, boy, did we go deep into the line. And some very surprising figures were chosen. And well, there were some issues. We'll get into those.
All right. So let's see here. We have about 14-ish minutes, it looks like, based on my calculation. So we'll try and go fast. But let's talk about some of these Saga Legends packs, because there was some really great stuff here. And the only way to get some of this stuff is through Saga Legends. Like you can't find some of this stuff any other way. So I guess, should I start off? Do you want me to start off by just listing each of the offerings?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, let's do that. All right, Battle Droids, Tan Infantry and Commander, C-3PO with Battle Droid Head, Clone Trooper, Attack of the Clones, Clone Trooper, Revenge of the Sith, Darth Maul, Darth Vader, General Grievous, R2-D2, Shock Trooper, Yoda, 501st Clone Trooper 1, Battle Droid 2-Pack 2, Maroon Blaster damage and Lightsaber damage, Boba Fett, Chewbacca, Darth Vader, aka Anakin Skywalker, Destroyer Droid, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Princess Leia Boushh Disguise, Sand Trooper 1, Super Dirty Sergeant Body Number 1, Sae Tin, Battle Droid 2-Pack 3, Tan Blaster damage and Lightsaber damage, Clone Commander Coruscant, Clone Trooper Officer Captain, Clone Trooper Officer Commander, Clone Trooper Officer Lieutenant, Dark Trooper, Fans Choice Number 1, Imperial Officer, Variant Head Sculpt 1, Sand Trooper 2, Dirty, Squad Leader, Body number 1, Pit Droids 2-pack, White with Accessory 1, Battle Droid 2-pack 4, Tan, Dirty, and Clean, Biker Scout, Clone Trooper Officer, Sergeant, Imperial Officer, Variant Head Sculpt number 2, Pit Droids 2-pack, Brown versions with Accessory 1, R4, I9, RA7, Sand Trooper 3, Clean Corporal Body number 1, TC-14, Imperial Officer with Variant Head Sculpt number 3, and Pit Droids 2-pack Orange with Accessory 1. That is the very first run of Saga Legends before we get into running changes. So definitely a healthy smattering of extra product, and I say extra because these aren't part of the main line. These were Saga Legends. They were in addition to the main line, and they came up with some really cool stuff. Lots of variants. If you were 100% all in on these, you had to buy some of them over and over, but you definitely amassed a very impressive collection.
Yes. So as part of the voting process as it went on, we discovered that the Clone Trooper Officers, which was originally part of an Entertainment Earth exclusive, they were very popular. But then you kind of like, well, which one do you want? Well, Hasbro's like, we'll just do all of them as a running change. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Same thing with the battle droids. There were multiple battle droids over time, so they did a whole bunch of running changes to sort of incorporate all the different ones, but they were on a brand new book. So you had the Episode 1 Clone Troopers, but these were on the, I believe it was Saga Collection body, because that was the most recent tooling that they had.
Yeah.
And the the pit droids, well, I'll say pit droids for later. A lot of the figures that they had picked, the Imperial Officers, that was the other one that had running changes. So they had done, between Power of the Jedi and Saga, a couple different versions of the head sculpts. So again, which one do we want to do? We'll do all of them. Okay, that's awesome. I love it. I love that they're really going this way.
Sure.
But some of the figures like Darth Maul, Darth Vader, who's the other guy? Saesee Tiin, I think he was in here as well. They had them added to the line, maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi, because they were making vehicles.
Yeah.
So they needed to have a figure that fit in the vehicle. And like the case of Darth Maul, most of the time Darth Maul comes with a soft plastic, but still sort of hard, skirt that he can't sit. Mm-hmm. Right? Even the Evolutions figure, he can't sit because he's got this. So they had one that was a speeder bike pilot, or a Sith speeder pilot, back in 1999. So they re-released that version specifically because they were releasing his ship in the line later on. Some other changes, like Boba Fett, they originally were going to include the Saga Boba Fett from 2004, I believe, with the action feature. But they saw that the VOTC Boba Fett was so popular in the voting, they're like, okay, we're going to swap out that figure for the VOTC version instead.
Yeah, wise choice.
Which was great. And the 501st Clone Trooper. Okay, this is sort of like one of my direct input into the line. They had done a 501st Clone Trooper in Revenge of the Sith, but it was on the ATTE driver body.
Yes.
Which was okay. It was a running change, so they did that really quick. And they initially released the 501st Clone Trooper. When I found out about it, they were going to do it again, but with clean armor. And I said, listen, you need to take the 501st Clone Trooper, put him on the super articulated body. Not only because it's a better sculpt, but also because you showed that figure at San Diego Comic, and that's not what we got. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's do that. So that 501st Clone Trooper on the super articulated body came out in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. I was so happy. I have one of every version.
Yep. And yeah, let's be honest, that turbo tank driver sculpt is just pretty awful. It's like, for all the hits that Hasbro had during this era, like that was definitely not one of them.
Yeah, that was not great. So it didn't stay in production very long. So they swapped it out pretty quick, which was good. But then there are two more. So the pit droids, Very popular. These were from the episode 1 line, but they were only available overseas where Comtech chips were not able to be packaged. So they instead added a bonus accessory of a pit droid with some type of some big trunk or communicator, power converter, whatever it was. And the only way to get those was to either get them off eBay or something, or it was to live in not the United States, right? So fans voted for those in the episode 1 category. They went really far. And Hasbro, of course, took note of that, and they said, okay, we're going to make both pit droids. But now here was the problem. They couldn't find the tooling to make these figures again. Because at this point, they're like 15 years old. Now they're way older. So they recreated it specifically for Saga Legends. And the other problem was they couldn't really determine the actual colors because very few American websites that document and archive this kind of stuff actually had them in their. We didn't even have them at the time. Mm. So we found a picture that included all of them, but the photography and the lighting was so bad that that's what they had to go with. So that's what they went with. Mm. I actually went into my garage and dug them out of the box, and I said, oh no, we need to fix this. And that's why you see there's so many different pit droids and variations throughout the thing. But honestly, you think about it, that's what makes it more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great story. And, honestly, I think from the Saga Legends line, I think these pit droids are probably my favorite figures that they had in there. And it didn't hurt that, you could buy them multiple times over. There's 3 different sets, right? 3 different colors.
There's quite a few. Yeah, there's white, brown, orange with different accessories. So I think altogether there's 6 different versions. And then the other issue that came about was, of course, the Sand Trooper, because the Sand Troopers have different colored pauldrons. And what we wanted to do was put the Evolutions Sand Trooper into the line, but and I think at some point it actually did get in there. They, similar to the story I told about the Tusken Raiders, same kind of thing happened here where they sent the directions, okay, we want to have the Sand Trooper Evolutions figure but with this deco.
Yeah.
And they somehow crossed the wires, and we ended up getting a different Sand Trooper with the wrong deco, and it just started rolling out. What also happened, and I did not know this at the time, the Sand Trooper 5, which was the black pauldron, actually didn't come out at retail. In the 30th anniversary collection line. It did come out in Legacy collection the following year because we made sure that was happening. But they had stopped production very shortly after this particular one ran through, and I didn't know it at the time. I had 3 copies of it. I gave 2 of them away to friends of mine.
Wow. Yeah, I know that's quite something for sure. And, this Saga Legends, like if you were collecting at the time and, you were keeping up with all the releases, you probably got everything, somewhat easily. But if you were to go back now and trying to get every single variation of every one of these Saga Legends figures, like it'd probably be, first of all, very expensive, but I would secondly say like maybe even impossible, like to get every single variation, like all at once. If you were to go to eBay, you'd probably have to hunt for them for a very long period of time to get everything.
Right. Yeah. So anybody hunting for eBay, don't bother looking for Sand Trooper 5.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Right. And then what's so fun about this is they had the collector coins were going on in the 30th anniversary line. They included collector coins with these figures, but instead of having character portraits, they had the logo. They had like a generic one for each film plus the expanded universe.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then the last little round of these was 2008. They did the fans' choice, and there's a few figures that were released. Commander Neo, Covert Ops Clone Trooper, Shadow Stormtrooper, Utapau Shadow Trooper, and Zev Sineska.
Yes, so fans clearly liked the black troopers.
Yep.
So Hasbro created black coins to go along with them, which was so fun.
Yeah, and honestly, these were hard to track down. I didn't even track down all of that last wave. It was kind of that last wave syndrome kind of thing. Like I just did not. like everything up to this point I was able to get, but then when it came to that last wave, like for me that was just really hard to track those down. Yeah.
And Commander, I mean, all of these, if you look through this list here, they were all exclusives in one form or another. Like the only way you could get Neo or Zeb Seneska was as a pack-in pilot with a vehicle, and then the Cloverdops Trooper, the Shadow Trooper, and the Utapau Shadow Trooper. They were all exclusive to one store or another. But if you wanted to army build them, that would be pretty expensive to try and track those down. But now here was an easier way to do it. But apparently that didn't necessarily work in your case.
Right. Cool. Well, that is Saga Legends. Dan, was there anything else you wanted to say in closing about either Saga Legends or the 30th anniversary collection?
I mean, the Saga Legends line, I've talked about this many times, and if anybody was a fan of the site at the time, you probably saw like the thousands of stories that I put up about it. But it was such an honor to be asked to participate with this, because Hasbro was looking at the work that I was doing, and they were checking it out, and they say, hey, this guy's documenting like all the stuff that we're creating, which was cool that I was able to sort of be a consultant on this, and that led into, we had talked in the previous show, the repaint wave that replaced the Force Unleashed figures, and some of the feedback from those sessions, I mean, that led into other projects later on in the Legacy collection. So I had a nice relationship with Hasbro for a while, which was fun.
Yeah.
But the 30th anniversary collection. So this, as I said before, this pulled out all the stops. They really celebrated the 30th anniversary of Star Wars in such a great way that honored the entire saga.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'll ever see anything like this again. I mean, I really don't.
Right. And back then they weren't as reactive as they are now. Like, Hasbro, like if this was what they were doing today, like the 30th anniversary style where they did every wave for every movie, like you wouldn't see them omit like, the sequel trilogy, or you wouldn't see them omit like Rebels. They would incorporate everything under the Star Wars toy line. So, really I feel, quite lucky to have been collecting during this era, and, been hardcore collecting during this era, because we had it really good. We may not have realized it at the time, but, they definitely were honoring the entire saga, like you were saying, and collecting was fun. They were engaging with the community. This is, I think, about when they started doing also like their Q&As, right? Like their website Q&As with each website. So yeah, this was a great time to be a collector, and thankfully, if you missed out on anything, most of it is on eBay. Some of it's expensive, some of it's not. But there's definitely a lot out there. And yeah, it was a fun line. It really was one of the best Star Wars Hasbro Golden Age toy lines of all time. We'll never see anything like it again. But we have the toys and we have the memories, and hopefully both of those will last forever.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well said. And there's, I feel like I'm looking back over the list of everything that came out with this line. I mean, we had Evolutions, we had comic packs, which I've talked before. I absolutely love that. The wasn't so much necessarily a part of the line as its own thing, but they started the Star Wars Transformers crossovers. I think in this line in this year, which was super fun. I'm like, I didn't have many of those, but I just love the fact that they existed,
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
For sure.
To me, this was the best year to be a collector.
It was, yeah, it's definitely a great year. I have nostalgia for it now, but it was great. Just the whole line, the packaging, just all of it was awesome. And
the angled corners, a lot of my friends who are collectors did not like those, but the artwork on all the card backs, that was just phenomenal.
It was just such a great line. Well, Dan, I'm really grateful that we were able to talk about the 30th anniversary collection. Thank you so much for sticking with me it's been over a year in the making, but I'm glad that
years in the making. Absolutely.
Yeah. Just like the toy line itself, which I'm sure took a long time to put together. And, But yeah, the next focus will be the Legacy collection, and I can't say when that's going to happen. It could be late this year, it could be next year. Obviously, these take some time to get together, right, and to get researched and pull the toys out and all that. But it'll definitely be coming at some point. And yeah, thanks to everybody who's stuck with us these last 4 episodes to hear the 30th anniversary collection retrospective. Definitely stay tuned. There's more coming from Cantina Chatter, not focusing on retrospective stuff, but we'll definitely be getting some more episodes out very soon. And Dan, where can our listeners go to look you up on the internet?
I tend to stick mostly to Facebook, although I don't do a lot of Star Wars content that much anymore these days, because I've moved into a completely different part of my life. But I do enjoy talking Star Wars. I do enjoy talking Star Wars collecting, and I'm obviously well versed in the action figure line, and I still collect, even though I'm not photo archiving everything anymore. So if you ever need me to come back on the show, I am more than happy to jump in and talk about this stuff. I love it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I love it too. And it's great to have you on. Your knowledge is indispensable. And, it's just so cool how you are involved with a lot of this stuff. So thank you again. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right, you guys. Tremendous thanks to Dan Curto. That man is a legend amongst Star Wars toy collectors. Just his knowledge is so vast. He's awesome. Thank you, Dan. Stay tuned, because in our next episode, we will be talking about the greatest moments in all of Star Wars. And this Saturday, August the 15th, we're going to be doing the 10th anniversary of Victoria's Cantina special. It's going to be a live stream featuring special guests. I'm really looking forward to that. So stay tuned. No matter where you're tuning in from out in the galaxy, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Victoria's Cantina.